Why don't they play hide and seek in Brazil? Because good luck hiding when the party is this good. Just imagine a young American kid like me stepping into Brazil for the first time. The energy pulsates through the air, a rhythm that seems to vibrate from the very ground beneath your feet. It's a symphony of sound, a kaleidoscope of color, a feast of fragrance. From the sizzling aroma of street food, the sweet scent of tropical flowers, to the earthy smell of rain on the cobblestones. Everywhere you look, there are friendly faces, warm smiles that invite you in, make you feel like you belong. And the atmosphere, it's a non-stop celebration, a vibrant festival that never seems to end. It's the kind of welcome that makes you want to dance in the streets, laugh out loud, live in the moment. The moment I stepped off the plane, I knew this was going to be an adventure I'd never forget. You know what they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. But what happens when you don't speak a word of Portuguese? So there I was, my belly grumbling louder than a samba drum, in a local restaurant filled with the mouth-watering aroma of Brazilian cuisine. My Portuguese was as good as my calculus, non-existent. But hey, we live in the digital age, so I whipped out my smartphone, confident that my trusty translation app would save the day. With a menu in one hand and my phone in the other, I started to punch in the words. The app seemed to be working fine, translating words like frango into chicken and arroz into rice. Feeling like a true linguist, I decided to try something adventurous. I pointed to an item on the menu that read lingua de vaca. The app translated it to cow's tongue. I laughed, thinking it was a classic translation fail. Surely they wouldn't serve an actual cow's tongue, right? With a shrug and a laugh, I showed the waiter my phone screen, pointing at the translated text. He gave me a thumbs up and walked away, leaving me feeling quite proud of my adventurous spirit. Fast forward 20 minutes. The waiter returned with a plate covered with a silver dome. With a flourish, he lifted the cover. There it was. Not a tongue-in-cheek Brazilian dish, but an actual literal cow's tongue, steaming and garnished. My adventurous spirit suddenly felt a lot less adventurous. The restaurant filled with laughter as I stared, wide-eyed, at the dinner I had so confidently ordered. The waiter, trying to suppress his chuckles, patted my back and said something in Portuguese. Maybe it was good luck or bon appetit. Either way, I was in for a memorable meal. And that, my friends, is how I ended up eating cow's tongue for dinner. Dance like nobody's watching, they said. It would be fun, they said. Now, let me tell you about the day I decided to join a samba class. I thought, hey, when in Brazil, right? How hard could it be? Famous last words, my friends. So there I was, a fresh-faced American kid standing in the middle of a samba school in Rio. The air was buzzing with energy, the music was infectious, and the dancers moved with a rhythm that seemed as natural as breathing. It was like stepping into a different world, one where the language of the body spoke louder than words. I was given a pair of shiny dancing shoes and ushered onto the dance floor. The instructor, a petite woman with the energy of a hummingbird, started the class with a basic step. Left, right, back, spin. Easy enough, right? Wrong. I was like a newborn giraffe, all arms and legs and no coordination whatsoever. The more I tried to keep up with the fast-paced, energetic dance moves, the more I looked like I was trying to swat invisible flies. And let me tell you, there's nothing quite like the experience of being the only person in a room full of samba dancers who can't samba. The music got faster, the steps became more complicated, and I found myself in what can only be described as a full-blown samba crisis. I was a whirl of awkward moves, misplaced steps, and flailing arms, but in the spirit of dance like nobody's watching, I kept going, determined to master the samba, or, at the very least, not fall flat on my face. As the class came to an end, I was drenched in sweat, my legs felt like jelly, and my pride was slightly bruised. But you know what? I survived. I may not have become the king of samba that day, but I sure did give it my all. And that, my friends, is how I danced my way straight into Brazilian infamy. Let's just say if there's a wall of shame for samba dancers somewhere in Brazil, I've probably earned a spot on it. Let's just say that day I danced my way straight into Brazilian infamy. You haven't really been to Brazil if you haven't explored the Amazon. Or so I thought. Picture this. A young adventurer, fresh from the samba schools of Rio, setting off to tackle the world's largest rainforest, armed with nothing but a backpack and an unhealthy dose of optimism. What could possibly go wrong, right? Well, let's just say the Amazon isn't like those neat little trails back home. It's a wild, wondrous maze filled with towering trees, vibrant wildlife, and sounds that seem like they're straight out of a nature documentary. In all its magnificent chaos, it's easy to feel like you've stepped into another world. Now, about that curious monkey. There I was, navigating my way through the thick undergrowth, when I felt a pair of eyes on me. Turning around, I found myself face to face with a mischievous little capuchin, its eyes twinkling with curiosity. I could almost hear it thinking, "Who's this strange creature invading my home?" What happened next, you ask? Well, let's just say that monkeys aren't as shy as you might think. Before I knew it, this furry little rascal had made a beeline for my backpack, rummaging through my belongings with a gleeful abandon. Snacks, maps, water bottles, nothing was safe from its curious little hands. In the midst of the chaos, I managed to snap a quick selfie with my new friend. It wasn't quite the noble explorer shot I had in mind, but hey, who am I to argue with a monkey? Despite the unexpected encounter, I wouldn't trade my Amazon adventure for anything. It was a wild, unforgettable journey into the heart of nature, filled with laughter, surprises, and, yes, a healthy dose of jungle jitters. So, if anyone asks, I've done the Amazon. I've got the monkey selfie to prove it. Brazil is famous for its beaches, and I, my friends, was ready to soak up the sun. Now you should know something about Brazilian beaches. They're not just about sunbathing and building sandcastles. They're a whole event, a vibrant spectacle of life that happens every day with or without you. And I was eager to dive right in. I started my day like any self-respecting beach bum. I set up my spot on the warm sand, slathered on a generous layer of sunscreen, and prepared to do absolutely nothing. But as fate would have it, my peaceful day was about to take a rather comical turn. Just as I was about to drift off into a sun-soaked siesta, I spotted a coconut vendor. Now I love coconuts. The sweet water, the delicious creamy flesh. It's a tropical paradise in a shell. So naturally, I bought one, not knowing that this seemingly innocent act would lead to my becoming part of a slapstick comedy show. As I sat there, sipping on my coconut water, a seagull swooped down and snatched the coconut right out of my hands. I was shocked, to say the least. But the seagull was not done with me yet. It circled around and, in a move that would have made any fighter pilot proud, dive-bombed right at me. I jumped, I ducked, I dodged, but the seagull was relentless. It was me, the seagull, and my stolen coconut in a wild dance on the beach. The onlookers were in splits, their laughter echoing off the waves. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the seagull flew off, leaving me, the dazed and confused beach bum, in its wake, but not without dropping the coconut on my head first. Talk about adding insult to injury. As I picked myself up, dusted off the sand, and rubbed my coconut-bruised head, I couldn't help but laugh. It was a day at the beach I would never forget. And that's how I became the first person to be attacked by a seagull in Brazil. I think. They say all good things must come to an end, but in Brazil, they just say see you at the next party. As we wrap up this wild ride, let's take a moment to chuckle about the time I got totally lost in the vibrant streets of Rio de Janeiro. Or how about the unforgettable night I spent learning to samba with the locals? And let's not forget the jungle jitters in the heart of the Amazon. It's been one adventure after another. But it wasn't all just fun and games. There were quiet moments too, like the tranquil mornings spent on the beach, watching the sun rise over the waves. What a journey it's been, and what a country this is. I couldn't have asked for a better host than Brazil. You've given me memories that will last a lifetime, and for that I say obrigado. So here's to Brazil, the country where even the seagulls know how to party.